Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by my practitioner friend and also previous client, Chloe Stickings. So Chloe is now a women's pelvic health coach who combines lymphatic work with energy healing and pelvic realignment to create a whole body, whole you approach to women's health. And in this episode, I wanted to get Chloe on because she's had a pretty in-depth health journey that's been going on over 10 years, starting when she was 12 years old, from an injury to the Gardasil HPV vaccine when she was at school. And she was literally paralyzed. She was bedbound for years and years and struggling to get any answers, was just receiving diagnosis after diagnosis from the conventional doctors. And she found the world of holistic and nutritional health and medicine. And I actually had the pleasure of working with Chloe about 2 to 3 years ago now on the physical side of things. So she'd already looked into the emotional trauma that she'd been through from the health journey alone. Like she had some other things going on as well, which she discusses, but going through the gaslighting and the doctor's appointments and medications and being told that everything's in your head is traumatic. So she's definitely had to do work around that. And I could empathize with her completely because that's kind of similar to what I experienced as well. But then Chloe worked with me after being referred by a friend, and we really helped her get her health better. She had a lot of digestive issues at the time, so she talks about her experience working with me. I ask her more about her health journey, and she covers what exactly happened to her. And now she is doing so much better. She's thriving. She's also a practitioner now, so she works with women for a range of different things, but a lot of hormonal pelvic health situations, and she does a lot of energy work. And I just love how knowledgeable she is about all of this stuff. She has experience with lymphatics, and we've done a separate episode that's going to be released in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But we cover more about the mistakes that she's made along the way, what has made the biggest difference to her with diet and different tools and products in her healing journey, and just her advice and wisdom, having gone from chronic illness sufferer to like healed and doing absolutely amazing. And this is the type of episode that we would have both loved to have listened to. And I definitely want to do more of these this year, with getting people who have healed and clients, their experience working with me, because I know I talk about and share testimonials and things, but to have someone actually cover how they felt and what the experience is like and the benefits they received. And Chloe talks about how the healing journey isn't linear. She definitely felt improvements, and then she felt like she was crashing and flaring up. And I give people a heads up and a warning that can happen, but to just be reminded, if you're currently struggling on your health journey, that's often how it goes for most of us. It can just be reassuring. So hopefully you find this episode interesting. Go and give Chloe a follow on social media, on her website. I'll put all of her details in the show notes below. But let me introduce her to the podcast, and then you'll hear her again in another episode coming very soon. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I've got a very special guest on today. Her name is Chloe Stickings, and we're going to be covering her health journey because it has been quite the journey. And I've had the pleasure of working with Chloe as well, one-on-one. I think it was a couple of years ago now, 2-3 years ago. But yeah, welcome to the podcast, Chloe. And can you go more into your health journey and take as long as you need to?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I was just laughing a bit there where you said that my health journey has definitely been a journey, because it's been very, very long. So I'm now 25, and my health journey started when I was about 12. So for over half of my life now, it's been a big, big journey for me, and it's obviously still ongoing as well. So all of my childhood growing up, I was a healthy child, like no health problems, didn't have a lot of time off school or anything like that, was a pretty normal, healthy child. And it all really changed for me when I was about 12, and I got the first of the 3 Gardasil vaccines. So for anyone that doesn't know, these are the HPV vaccines. We don't actually have the Gardasil one in the UK anymore, but at the time that was the brand that was being used. And after my first vaccine, I was not very well. I had kind of a bit of a low immune system afterwards. So I had it in the October, and I was getting really, really sick, getting a lot of colds, a lot of stomach bugs and that kind of thing. But that obviously was just put down to being the time of year and, you know, just bad luck, just, oh, you're a bit run down or you're a bit under the weather, all that kind of thing. And then it was when I had the second vaccine that things got really, really bad. So I had the second vaccine when I was at school, about lunchtime, about midday, and I was okay. I didn't feel too bad. But when I came home from school, I was not feeling very well at all. About 4 o'clock, I laid down on my bed to have a little nap and a little rest, and I was asleep for probably like half an hour, maybe not even that. And when I woke up, I couldn't feel my legs and I couldn't move my legs. And obviously my family took me to A&E, and my health kind of really just declined from there. And I started to get a lot of headaches, a lot of dizziness, a lot of nausea, a lot of fatigue, a lot of pain, and all these symptoms just kind of started building up and building up and getting worse and getting worse. So from there, I've had, you know, many different symptoms, many different like battles with different. I obviously had many different things that I was diagnosed with over the years, things like ME, fibromyalgia, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, mast cell, interstitial cystitis, functional neurological disorder. Probably forgetting some things because
The list goes
is
on.
so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there it's just been this big, huge journey where I've been really battling with my health and getting nowhere with doctors and trying some more natural approaches and going backwards and forwards really from the conventional medicine to the more functional and natural medicine. And yeah, it wasn't really until a couple of years ago when I met Vivian that I was really able to move forward with my health and really sort of like get to the root cause of my health problems. So,
and I know
yeah.
you'd done work on, I think, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think you came from that like emotional energy work side with Cassie. And then was I the first kind of physical nutrition holistic practitioner that you'd seen for your symptoms in particular?
So you weren't the first, but I had really bad experiences with everyone else. So
In what way?
I think when I met with other practitioners, there was something in my gut telling me that these were not the right people for me to work with. And I think I ignored my gut, I ignored my intuition. I'm not entirely sure if I can pinpoint one particular thing. But I did have quite bad experiences with a few different practitioners. There was one who gave me like an overdose of a supplement, and when I went to her and told her that I was really unwell, she was like, just keep taking it, you're fine. And you know, after a while she realized, oh my goodness, I've given her like a triple dose. So yeah, just not good experiences all around, really, which is something that's really emotionally difficult to to go through, I think. And yeah, I did lose faith in the more like holistic side of things because of those experiences for a while.
And what type of recommendations were you getting from the allopathic conventional medicine system?
Mostly just painkillers and like indigestion drugs, that kind of thing. Nothing that was really helping. I had a lot of antibiotics, so at one point I was on antibiotics every single day as like a prophylactic dose because I was getting UTIs every 2 or 3 weeks. And yeah, like none of the things that
Pretty much just like a pill for an ill. So like
yeah,
hormone issues, birth control pill, skin issues, antibiotics, or Roaccutane.
yeah,
Like just not looking at the whole picture.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, just putting a band-aid over it.
Yeah. And with the whole vaccine situation, was it ever kind of confirmed, or did they ever kind of believe you when you said that it was linked to that? Is that something that has been like formally like noted?
So yeah, obviously I was only like 12, 13 at the time, so it was difficult for me to advocate for myself. And I think whenever you have these kind of experiences, doctors don't often listen to you, especially if you're a 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl. I was really lucky that my dad was really, really supportive and he really like advocated for me. There was one time where I did have an MRI on my brain and my spinal cord, and they were very aware at the hospital that I thought it was related to the vaccine, and they said that they did find a abnormality on my brain, but they said that they wouldn't tell me what it was because I thought that it was the vaccine that had caused it. So yeah, when I went to my GP, they definitely just shut me down when it came to me thinking that it was about from the vaccine. But yeah, I never got that in writing, or never got that as like an official diagnosis, unfortunately.
And when was it that the vaccine changed from the Gardasil? And do you know why that was? Is it because things like this were happening, and is the new one less problematic?
Yeah, so it was about 2 years after I had mine that they changed from Gardasil to the Cervarix. So I think that was around 2010-ish, 2011. I might be wrong, but yeah, they found that there was so many injuries from the Gardasil vaccine, and so many young girls that were dying and losing their lives from the vaccine, so they did deem it to be too unsafe. So yeah.
And what is it about? Is it that particular one for some reason, or is there an issue with all of them? Is it the kind of material that's in the vaccine, or is it someone's response to it, or maybe a combination?
So from what I know, the Gardasil vaccine targets more types of HPV than the Cervarix one, so it is a little bit stronger. It's targets a lot more types of HPV. But yeah, I mean, when you look into the ingredients, there's all sorts of horrible, nasty things in it. Things like Candida, which I know from working with you that I had Candida in my gut. And
Like, why would they need to put that in there?
I know.
Makes no sense.
I know. And yeah, lots of heavy metals and all sorts of things like that, which obviously we know are really neurotoxic and probably, I'm guessing, were behind some of my neurological symptoms.
Yeah. And the way that, it's kind of how they make them work is putting these like stressors in the vaccine to provoke your immune system. But a lot of them cross the blood-brain barrier and can cause a reaction. So what is your stance on things like vaccines now? Is it just like complete no-go for you personally? Obviously, this is a medical advice for everyone to follow, like listen to your own body and intuition and all of that. But are you kind of neutral on it now? Have you kind of looked into other vaccines and feel more comfortable doing those other than the Gardasil, sorry?
Yeah, so for me, I've definitely done a lot of research about vaccines, and all vaccines, not just the Gardasil one, and they're all just a big no from me right now. And yeah, I don't plan on ever getting another vaccine in my life, and if I have children, then I won't be giving them any vaccines.
And did you had the childhood ones as well? And
Yeah.
do you remember, like, if your parents said how you reacted to that? Do you have any problems then?
I didn't have any severe problems. I think a lot of babies, it's kind of normal for you to get a fever, a temperature, and that kind of thing when you have your childhood vaccines. But no, I didn't have any severe reactions that warranted me going to the hospital or anything like that.
And now, like, knowing what you know about how there's this kind of straw that breaks the camel's back and this toxic bucket that can overflow, you said that you had a really healthy childhood. So what is it that you feel led to you specifically having the reaction compared to maybe other people who grew up on tons of antibiotics, cesarean born, really bad diet, like maybe genetics? Has that been investigated?
Yeah, so I think for me, when I had the vaccine, I was going through quite a stressful time. So I was going to quite a like high performance school, like a very, very competitive school. And I was also being bullied at the same time. So I was under a lot of stress, and I was feeling a lot of anxiety. And I think that we know that that can impact the blood-brain barrier and all that kind of thing. So I definitely was in fight or flight for probably a year or two before I had the vaccine. And my diet throughout my childhood, looking back, was perhaps not the best. We did have a lot of like McDonald's and things like that growing up, and a lot of junk food and things like that looking back on it maybe wasn't the best. So yeah, I have been doing a lot of work recently around trauma as well, so looking at like childhood trauma and things that might have impacted me in my childhood as well. So yeah, I think there's lots and lots of things that have had a impact. And with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I know I mentioned that earlier, I definitely always had symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome from when I was looking back at old photographs of me, I can see that my knees are bending backwards, and I've never been able to hold a pen properly either because my fingers are quite hypermobile. So there's a few signs of things like looking back. Yeah.
And what's the theory on how it triggered like so many issues for you? Does it just cause like a huge immune system like inflammation process? And yeah, for it to trigger like all of these diagnoses that you have, I know that some of them are just like labels and symptoms, and you've probably not like taken all of them on as fact, especially things like chronic fatigue. That's really just like, we don't know what's wrong with you, you're tired.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear it. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for me, particularly thinking about the chronic fatigue, a lot of people do have chronic fatigue syndrome after a virus or after a vaccine. So that to me really points to the immune system. And I definitely think that like gut health again is like a huge thing. So like the candida in the vaccines affecting gut health, and we also know that heavy metals can feed parasites and that kind of thing. So I definitely think that that played a big part on a lot of my symptoms. But yeah, I think I don't really know. I feel like I'm at peace with the fact that I'm never really gonna know for sure what happened. And I don't know if there ever will be studies or any kind of
we can hope, but
evidence.
not likely.
Yeah.
It's nice that you've got that mindset though, rather than like beating yourself up or like you're like stressing yourself out by trying to find the answer. Whereas if you just kind of let it go and just accept, like, we might not ever know, we can just move forward with the information that we do have. So yeah, I can definitely tell that you worked on your mindset and everything, and the therapy or work that you've done on your energy body and your emotional release. Was that mainly from what you're saying with the childhood stress, the school bullying, or have you even had to do work around what you've been through with the chronic illness and not getting any answers for so long?
Yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of people, when they go through chronic illnesses, have like medical trauma. It is really a traumatic thing to go through. And I think that anyone who's going to the doctor and not being listened to by doctors, or, you know, being dismissed by doctors and all that kind of thing, will have trauma from that, and they will have you know, a lot of unresolved emotions and, you know, suppressed anger and grief and all this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm still even, you know, working on the grief that I feel and have felt, missing out on so much of my life, and you know, being bedbound and having to miss out on all these things that I should have been doing when I was a teenager. And yeah, I have really had to work through a lot of the trauma that comes with being ill, as well as the trauma from my childhood, and like you say, from the bullying and everything as well.
Yeah, I can totally relate with like the medical trauma. Going to doctors who you think are going to help you, and some of them just literally like laugh in your face or tell you it's all in your head and give you no direction or hope. And also that feeling of missing out on life, because I was also, I think my health issue started when I was like 17, 18 until like really 24, 25. So a good chunk of these, what are supposed to be your prime time in life, and you just feel like I'm stuck at home every weekend with my parents. So we definitely share that in common, and I've had to do work on that too. But what words of wisdom do you have for someone who's like currently in that place? So say someone's listening, they're in the late teens, early 20s, having been there yourself, what would you like to tell them?
Yeah, I think that the kind of message about those years being the best years of your life is just a load of rubbish, really. Because there's so many people that get healthier and healthier as they get older. And I know for me that I'm healthier now than I was, you know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And I do think that age is just a number, and you can catch up on all of the things that you've missed out on in your younger years, when you're whatever age that you might be. And yeah, I think that you don't want to compromise your health by just pushing yourself and pushing yourself to achieve or keep up with other people that are your age, if it's going to you know, impact your health, and if it's going to be a detriment to your health. You know, you have to live your own life and do what's right for you and your body, not worry about what everyone else is doing.
And I don't know if you'd agree, but I'm like really grateful for what I went through, because I
Yeah.
learned so much about myself and others, and I'm so much more of a better person. I'm so healthier, and I know now like how to take care of myself long term, so that hopefully in the future I get to reduce or prevent more acute diseases and cancers and all sorts of things, when maybe your friends look like they're having the best time now, drinking every weekend, partying, but maybe they develop a health issue when they're in their 40s, 50s, and it can be a lot harder then to get better, because you've had another few decades of living on this toxic earth. So yeah, I'm glad that I went through it. It wasn't pleasant in the moment, but for us as well, it's put us on our path in life, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to help people, but I would never thought that this was a job that I would be able to do. So not that someone else has to get into the same field as us, but if you just trust it's going to be a period of your life, and you're going to come out the other side so much stronger and healthier, and just kind of trust the process. I think that's my add-on to your message, but I love that.
Yeah, I know it's cheesy, but it is like
I
everything
know.
happens for a reason.
Exactly. And how long was it then? So from when you had the vaccine to when you started to feel a shift and started to feel better?
So when I was all about 16-ish, I was able to start to like learn to walk and walk around a bit more in terms of like the paralysis and that kind of thing. So I did get a little bit of independence back from when I was about 16 to about 18. But then when I was about 18 was when I had really, really bad gut issues. And it was a bit of a whack-a-mole situation with symptoms. Like one symptom got better and one symptom got worse. So it was only really, I want to say when I was about 22, 21, 22 that I really started to like feel a lot better, to be able to sort of like travel a little bit, like go on some holidays, have independence, and sort of go out and about on my own, without having someone come with me or use like a mobility aid or something like that. So yeah, it was a long time, like almost 10 years of my life was put on hold, really. Yeah.
And you talk about it a lot on your social media. So I know that you're going to be fine answering this, but I'm guessing you would have started your period and your menstrual cycle during that time, when you really couldn't like care for yourself. Do you remember like what that experience was like?
Yeah, so I actually got my first period about 2 weeks before my first vaccine.
Okay.
So it's interesting because I have been to people who have maybe suggested that that is
Like a hormonal
like a
fluctuation or
hormonal.
something.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I definitely had a lot of shame around my periods, and around my body in general. And yeah, it was a really, really uncomfortable time, a really, really uncomfortable experience to, be ill and not be able to care for myself and have to rely on other people to care for me. I feel like every teenage girl is embarrassed about her periods, or most are. And yeah, it was not something that I was able to keep a secret or hide or, really deal with in private because of how unwell I was. So yeah, that was really, really difficult, and I think definitely impacted my relationship with my body and my relationship with being a woman and having periods as well.
And what is some of this work? So when you said that you're doing work around your bullying and your confidence and your medical trauma, your relationship with your body, what type of therapy are you doing to help with that?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm doing a lot of energy healing on myself, a lot of EFT as well, which is definitely something that I wish I'd found earlier in my health journey.
And can you share what that is for those who maybe have no idea?
Yeah, sure. So EFT is the emotional freedom technique, which is sometimes known as tapping. So it's sort of a way of reprogramming your brain and like yeah,
Like
helping to
releasing the energy as well, isn't it, at the same time?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's been really, really helpful. And just understanding where the beliefs came from. I've also been working a lot with the emotional development cycles as well. So that's been really, really helpful just to trace back to my childhood and trace back to where I might have formed these beliefs in the first 7 years of my life as well.
Really important. And you are an energy practitioner as well. So
Yeah.
can you talk about what that looks like and yeah, if someone's brand new to this world?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously everything is energy. So everything that we have in the world, all physical objects, all thoughts, all emotions, all beliefs, symptoms are energy. And yeah, for me, energy healing has been something that's been really, really transformative for my life. particularly when it comes to releasing trauma, like I've mentioned, and also protecting my own energy as well, because I feel like when we're kind of like empaths and sensitive people, and these are the kind of people that have chronic illnesses and get chronically ill, right? Like we're the sort of extra sensitive people. It can be really, really important to protect our own energy and to, you know, look after ourselves on not only a physical level, but an energetic level as well. So I always find it quite hard to actually explain what energy healing is, because there's no real, I can't show you something, I can't demonstrate something.
People say, like, an example with gravity, like, just because we can't see it doesn't mean like we all still believe in it, we know that it's real, so why can't we think the same about things like Reiki, energy healing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so most people probably have heard of Reiki. That's probably the most common type of energy healing. Most
and had you tried
one.
things like talk therapy before? What was your experience with that?
Yeah, so I tried like CBT a few times, and talk therapy. I definitely did not have a good experience with CBT, and I feel like I may have been re-traumatized with a lot of like the counselling that I received on the NHS and that kind of thing. And for me, I feel like trauma is held in the body, it's held in our energy field, it's held in the muscles and the fascia and in our physical body. It's not, we can't release trauma just by talking. That's how I believe. And yeah, I just didn't find it helpful at all just to talk through my problems. It just did nothing for me at all.
That's a common complaint, isn't it? People just get stuck in like week after week, go in for 10 years, and maybe they understand what happened or why someone behaved like they did, but if you're still triggered by seeing that person or thinking of that situation, then that's a sign that you've not healed the trauma if you're still triggered. So yeah, energy, somatic work, whatever you want to call it, is also my top recommendation. And yeah, Chloe is someone who can help you with that if you're currently struggling. So when you came to me, I obviously knew that you were doing the somatic work, and I was like, great, amazing, because that's like often the most important step. Because if you were coming to me in a victim mentality, or you didn't think that you could get better, then I'd be like, no, go and work on that first, then come back. So my job was to help you with your physical body, and the symptoms that you're having with your gut and hormones and all of that stuff. So could you give an overview, your experience and kind of the things that we worked on and how you felt during and also after?
Yeah, sure. So I remember our first proper call, and I remember sitting there and I was sucking on a piece of ginger because I felt so sick.
Were you on holiday or something as well? Do I remember?
Yeah, I was in Greece. And it was so stressful trying to get the Wi-Fi set up and everything,
but we managed it.
We managed it. But yeah, I was just feeling so nauseous, and I just remember sitting there through the whole call just feeling so sick, and feeling like I was going to be sick the whole time. And yeah, my main symptoms were definitely gut symptoms when I first came to you. So just nausea all day, every day, which was worse when I was eating, worse by certain foods, and a lot of bloating and that kind of thing. And at the time I was on a very, very restricted diet because some foods would cause me to react a bit more than others. So I cut them out, and I was doing, I think, a low FODMAP diet, which I'd been doing for about 5 years, which obviously is not an ideal thing to be doing.
You were still symptomatic, so obviously it wasn't really working.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I definitely, like, the gut symptoms were number one thing that I needed help with, because I was just so sick of feeling like I had a stomach bug all day, every day. and that was really, really impacting my life. And I think even after maybe a month of working together, I noticed a lot of shift in my body. I noticed I had more energy. I noticed that I was not so constipated anymore, and I was having regular bowel movements and that kind of thing. And yeah, my health journey working with you was definitely up and down. I definitely felt a big boost of energy at first, and then as we stepped into more like detoxing and parasite cleansing and that kind of thing, I definitely had more of a dip in energy as my body was healing and releasing a lot. And it was probably about 3 or 4 months into doing all the parasite cleansing and everything that I started to notice a big difference in my gut health, and was just noticing, oh, I'm able to eat a meal and not feel sick afterwards. And that was when I really started to introduce a few foods like higher FODMAP foods, things like apples and sweet potatoes that I hadn't been
I
able
remember
to
you
eat.
emailing me. Was it garlic or onions? She was
Yeah,
like,
both.
I can't believe it. I've not eaten these for years, and I've just eaten a meal with both of them in. And I was like,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I mean, how can you eat without garlic and
I
onion?
know,
It's
like
so
that really
boring.
limits you when you eat out because they put that stuff in everything, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. I was just steak and chips every time we went
Mhm.
out to eat because it's just so plain.
Yeah,
But now I have options. So
so good.
yeah, and
So you would feel like the parasite cleanse and the work on the gut infections made the biggest difference? Yeah.
definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that I released a lot of parasites
Yeah.
from what I saw, and yeah, that was just, it made such a difference, like
Hmm.
such a huge difference.
And the
And
reason that I would have put you on that anyway is because there is a big link between conditions like chronic fatigue, mast cell activation, and histamine reactions, and conditions like POTS. There's just like a huge connection with those. But the fact that you were symptomatic in your gut as well, that always indicates some sort of gut infection. And even though we did a parasite cleanse, a lot of the herbs in there have multiple benefits. So they're also antiviral, bacterial, fungal. So yeah, that's the reason that I put her on the parasite cleanse. And it does take time. I know that the first few months people either don't really feel any shift, some people can feel worse, but I always say like hold on for that 3 to 4 months. That's when I really started to notice a shift as well. Can you remember how long you did it in total? I personally did, I think, like 5 to 6 months, not continuously. I had a little bit of a break for a month or so between. But do you remember how long you did?
I think it might have been about 8 months. I know I did have a bit of a break in between for at least like 1 or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
amazing, so good. And since we worked together as well, you kind of went off on your own. You were studying, working with clients as well because you were feeling so much better. And then you got deeper into the work on lymphatics. And I
yeah.
had a knowledge of lymphatics. I know that it's important for detox and all of that. And I often just recommend like basic things like body brushing and rebounders, all of that. But you've really dove deep into the work on lymphatics, which I'm fascinated by. And I'm actually going to release an in-depth episode that I recorded with you months ago now. That'll be on the podcast hopefully soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. But I'm guessing like when you were bedbound for so long and not moving around, that's why your lymphatics were so clogged up and the basic recommendations just weren't cutting it.
Yeah, definitely. When I was bedbound, I definitely put on a lot of weight, and well, I say weight, but it's
Mm-hmm.
inflammation, isn't it? And yeah, my face became really puffy and that kind of thing. So yeah, I wish I'd have known about
Mm-hmm.
lymphatics a few years ago, because I think it would have really helped with my pain. Because when I first became bedbound, it was just because I was paralyzed. I couldn't move my legs and I didn't really experience any pain. And it was only after I was bedbound for a few months that I started to get pain, which I feel like was just a build-up
Yeah,
of
it's stagnation.
lymphatics. Yeah.
And could you just give a brief overview? Like I said, there's going to be an in-depth episode coming, but like, what are the lymphatics and why is it that this stagnation caused an issue with you being in bed?
Yeah, absolutely. So our lymphatic system is a drainage system. It's a drainage pathway in the body, and it helps to remove toxins and bacteria and inflammation from the body. So it's literally how we remove our inflammation. And if we are not removing our inflammation from the body, then obviously there's going to be a buildup of inflammation, which is going to cause pain and also other symptoms like gut symptoms and that kind of thing, headaches as well, which was definitely something that I suffered with when I was not able to be mobile.
And movement is like the number one way that we move the lymphatics, but for some people they need extra tools and special massages and all of that, which is going to be covered. But yeah, I'm fascinated by the lymphatic system now and really got into it more after learning from you. And that took your health even to the next level after the work on the parasites.
Yeah.
And are there any other tools or products and things that you really noticed a huge difference with on your health journey that you want to share?
Right now I'm really working on my posture and like alignment and that kind of thing. So really working on realigning my uterus, which is something that I've been working on for quite a while now. It's quite a slow process, and I'm feeling like that is such a big part of my nervous system work and you know, my mental health as well, like my anxiety and all that kind of thing, because you know, our uterus, our cervix is a big part of our nervous system. It's almost the bottom of our nervous system. And when that's out of alignment, we can feel a little bit ungrounded and a little bit anxious, and you know, our bodies can feel a little bit off. So yeah, that's something that I've been working with recently.
Is that something that you're doing yourself, or are you going to pelvic health physio or someone?
So yeah, that's something that I'm doing myself, and I also work with clients to do that as well.
Nice, amazing. And we were just talking before I hit record that I've just come back from the chiropractor. That's another way to support your nervous system and your structural imbalances. And I just shared with Chloe that I'm experienced a little bit of dizziness after today's session, where they adjusted my neck in particular. And since I last went last month, I've started a new protocol for Lyme and Borrelia. So it's just really fascinating to see, like, very quickly after finishing the adjustment, I started to get this like fuzziness in my head, headache, feeling tired, and it will shift over the day. I've just had a binder and stuff, but it's my brain is like detoxing better after today, which is fascinating. And I know another thing that you've loved are things like coffee enemas, castor oil packs. Do you do any other things like sauna or rebounding?
So I do rebounding. I've never tried a sauna actually, so that's definitely on the list, as well as going to the chiropractor. But yeah,
the list is never ending, is it?
I know. Coffee enemas have been really huge, and it's only really been in the last few months that my body's stopped craving coffee enemas. So to me, that's like a really huge sign to show that my liver is doing a lot better than it was.
And I went through that as well, because I was doing at least one a week for years and years, especially when I found out that I was living in mold and couldn't move. Just to get things out and clearing from my body, I did a coffee enema, and then I had a period of time for maybe a year where I didn't do any at all. And then I started up again recently, a lot less frequently, but it just shows that your body will tell you when you need certain things. I was talking to a client yesterday about eating liver, and how early on in my health journey, when I was severely deficient and had really bad gut health, I would crave liver. I could literally eat it every single day, chicken livers, pate, anything like that. And then I kind of went off it. And then again, like I now have it a little bit more frequently in my diet. So definitely listen to your intuition. I feel like that has made a big difference in my healing journey, not just getting advice from everyone else like I used to. And again, before we started recording today, we were talking about just intuition in general, and how as you get healthier, your intuition actually strengthens more. Can you talk for yourself? Like, have you got any experiences or anything that you want to share about intuition, and just your, again, advice for people who might be fearful to do that?
Yeah, I think that with intuition, it is just practice. It's not something that is gonna just be switched on and you're feeling really confident with it straight away. It really is like building up a relationship with yourself, and like slowly sort of like building up that trust with your body and your intuition. So yeah, I definitely found that probably about 6 months into my parasite cleansing journey as well, my intuition just sort of switched on.
It can be a
Particularly
little
when
bit scary, can't it?
yeah, it can. And I actually think I said to one of my coaches at the time that I was a bit scared of my own power, because that's genuinely how it felt. Like I had almost like some sixth sense that had just come
like
to
really
me.
witchy vibes, don't you? You're like, I
Yeah,
would have been killed like
yeah,
hundreds of years ago. I would have been one of those women.
yeah, definitely.
So true. And throughout your health journey as well, I'm sure that there's been things that you wish you would have done differently, not regret, but is there anything that you look back on and you're like, maybe shouldn't have done this with my diet, or looked into this area of health?
Yeah, I think trying to eat too cleanly and like perfectly was a bit of a mistake, really. I mean, we all learn from our mistakes, like you say, but I think there was one time where I was almost a bit fearful of certain foods, and I was quite restrictive, and just like didn't eat the most nourishing foods for my body. I was eating a lot of salads and that kind of thing, and I don't think that's what my body needed. I was fearful of eating things like steaks because I thought they were really high in fat, and I suppose being scared of fat as well is a big one, because I was trying to eat quite low fat for quite a few years, and scared of things like butter as well. And now I eat so much butter every day.
Your diet's probably like the opposite of all of that.
Yeah,
No solids
definitely.
or cold raw foods, especially not on your
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, I was definitely like green smoothies and salads
Mm.
and all that kind of stuff.
That's probably
And
like worse for your gut, like harder to digest. It
yeah,
takes more effort for your gut to break down. But yeah, I was totally there as well, because that's what we're believed to think is a healthy diet. Or if our parents grew up in like the 70s, 80s with low fat everything, that gets like ingrained in our belief as well. But they're often like worse for your health, because they're filled with all sorts of additives and stuff to make them taste good, because they've stripped out the good healthy fats.
yeah.
What's your diet like now then? And what's like a day in your life? Like, so let's do a whole day in the life. So like typical breakfast, what time do you wake up? I'm just being nosy. I want to know what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So I wake up probably between like 7, half 7 in the morning. Um, Drink a glass of water because important to rehydrate in the morning. I am eggs for breakfast every morning, so I usually have like an omelette. Sometimes I'll do like mushrooms or something like that, and a piece of fruit with that. So I have like omelette with eggs and butter. So you've got like the protein and the fats, and then a piece of fruit, which is like the carbs, usually an
Nice blood
apple.
sugar balance in breakfast.
Yeah.
We like to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, take my supplements, take my beef liver after breakfast, and then do my lymphatics, do my EFT, do my energy healing. I realise that this sounds like quite an elaborate morning routine.
People are like, right, we don't have 6 hours to do this. And not
Yeah,
that they have to do the exact same as you, like you're doing it for specific symptoms and goals. So maybe someone could just take one of those things and do some journaling in the morning about limiting beliefs or whatever. But I think it's really important to have some sort of morning routine, but everyone's different. And even throughout your cycle, what you need might switch up a little bit too.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do try and go for a walk in the morning, but I must admit I'm a bit of a fair weather walker. If it's raining, if it's pouring hard with rain, I don't enjoy going for a walk in the rain. So yeah, then usually have clients sort of mid-morning, and for lunch I'm kind of very much into like stir fries, just put it in one pan.
Yep.
We don't want to be washing up 100 million different pans.
Yeah, I agree.
Just like chicken and broccoli, veg, that kind of thing. I try to have some Greek yogurt as like a dessert after lunch, because I'm just still over the moon that I can eat yogurt and dairy again.
So good.
And
That's
that's
like
one
makes
of
me
the
the
things.
happiest. Like I love it when people get clear skin and stuff, but when they say like I feel relaxed around food, like I'm enjoying these healthy foods again, because it's not like you want to eat burgers and pizza and all stuff. You just want to eat like real whole foods, and that's the sad thing when you are fearful or actually sensitive to everything. So yeah, it makes me so happy when people are like, I can eat dairy again, or I'm eating onions. And even for me, I at one point couldn't use black pepper, so I couldn't season anything.
Wow.
Like I would just have salt and sometimes some olive oil. So now I'm like spicing up my foods. I'm like, whoa, I can actually make stuff taste amazing. Whereas before I got used to, for so long, just plain boring meals. I
Yeah.
was just eating to fuel my body. And I was such a foodie, always have been, and I really lost like the passion for it for so long. But now it's back, and I have to like rein
Yeah.
myself in a little bit. Otherwise, I'd be very much overweight. Yeah, the food in appetite is back, which is a really good sign of healing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that was one of the first things that I noticed in my body when I was healing as well. I was like, oh, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm actually hungry, because so often I would eat my dinner at 6 o'clock at night, and I'd still feel like I was digesting my dinner and my food at 7 o'clock in the morning when I woke up. Really, really slow digestion. So yeah.
Good, amazing. So after
Yeah,
lunch, what are you up to then?
so more work, more clients usually. I'm really into my acupressure mats actually at the moment.
I just
So
got one. Is it the prana mat?
no,
A
no,
similar
mine's
one.
like not
Okay.
a fancy one.
They're pretty much all the same anyway, I'm guessing. There's
Yeah,
another brand that I know, I think it's a Shakti mat. And then the one that I have is
yeah,
Prana mat. But yeah, they're all kind of, they've got these little spikes or whatever on there. And I've only had it for a few days, but I'm definitely like keen to see how I feel.
yeah. I love it. I love mine so much. So that's kind of like the end of my work day. I go and lay on my mat, and it just really releases like all the tension in your neck and your shoulders. I have one with a little pillow as well that you can put under your head, because sometimes, as much as I try to sit in a really good posture all day, sometimes when you're typing at your computer you can,
I have to like force myself. I'm like sitting back now because otherwise I'm like
yeah.
trying to talk to clients and I get really passionate and then I'm like inches away from the screen and it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I have to be honest, my mum usually makes my dinner for me because I'm
Lovely.
still
I'm very jealous.
living at home. So in terms of dinners, I'm not like a big recipe person. I feel like I just make food, like individual pieces of food. So I just have something like a steak or some salmon, like really simple usually, because I'm not the kind of person that likes to spend hours in the kitchen.
Me neither.
So I'll just do like some potato wedges or some, sweet potato wedges. Try and have some sort of like starchy carb, because I find that that really helps me to sleep and just sort of like calms down my nervous system and really grounds me at the end of the day. So yeah, I usually just try and have like a protein, a starchy carb, and then some like green vegetables. So, broccoli or cauliflower or something that's like a bit cruciferous. So that helps with estrogen detox,
It does.
all that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely always have something sweet after dinner as well. Like dark chocolate. I love like green and black dark chocolate, or I have like the Yeo Valley ice cream. And sometimes put dark chocolate on the ice cream.
Just like two favorite things. Why not put them together?
Yeah. So yeah, and I also have an Epsom salt bath every night after dinner as well. And always take my supplements in the evening, so like magnesium and yeah, mostly just magnesium at the moment, actually, just like really basic.
Yeah, because a lot of your lifestyle is like aiming to manage stress. So yes, magnesium good for stress relief, but why not work on the actual like foundational things first? Like, are you nourishing your body on a regular basis throughout the day? Are you having these little mini breaks where you go on the acupressure mat and do some breath work, journal? I'd rather someone do that, to be honest, than like do nothing all day, but take that magnesium or stress support supplement in the evening.
Yeah, definitely. I do try to do a lot of grounding in the summer, but it's just muddy and damp
Oh no,
out there.
no. We'll stay nice and warm wrapped inside.
Yeah.
This winter. That's so cool. I love hearing that. I'm someone who like loves watching like vlogs and behind the scenes videos on YouTube. So I just wanted to have a little sneaky insight into your life. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to finish up with a few more questions for you before we end the episode. So the first one is, do you have a book recommendation on any of the subjects that you've covered today, like a must read for the listeners?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I really love the Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Dr. Christiane Northrup.
I've got that one on my shelf somewhere. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, that was one I just feel like has everything in it. So I think I mentioned that I had like recurring UTIs, and it's got some great stuff in there around like UTIs and the physical side of it, but also like the emotional, metaphysical side. And yeah, there's just some really great information about
That's
like
a really like big book as well, isn't it?
It's massive. Yeah, it's a doorstop,
but it's a good like resource just to flip to your symptom or area that you want to dive into deep, but it covers, like you said, holistic, but also like the medical stuff to rule in or rule out.
Yeah, I love the stories in there, like the case studies as well. Yeah,
same here. Is there a piece of takeaway advice just to sum everything up that you want to finish the episode on?
I think what I would say is just to trust the process and like take your time, because maybe one of the mistakes that I made as well was like wanting to get to the finish line and wanting to get to the end result so quickly. And of course I got there in the end, but I was so in such a rush. So I think, yeah, take your time. Like healing takes time, and also the thing that healing is not linear. Like it's not. I know everyone says that, and it can be a bit annoying to hear that over and over again, but it's so true. So yeah,
and there is no end point.
There is no end.
It's like you're gonna keep going. Maybe you don't have to do as much stuff as you are doing now, or be as strict with your diet and take as many supplements, but it's a long-term thing. Staying healthy, we're bombarded by so many chemicals and things these days, and stress is inevitable, but sometimes we have to like give our body a bit of an extra boost at first, and then it's a lot easier to stay healthy when you've already put in the work. And then final question is, where can people find you online, and how are you working with clients at the moment, and what are your plans for 2023?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just my name, Chloe Stickings, online everywhere. So my website is just www.chloestickings.com, and I'm Chloe Stickings on Instagram as well. So 2023, I've got some really exciting things coming up. I'm relaunching my lymphatic program to include some energy healing in there as well. So that is the number one thing that I'm most excited about right now, because I feel like it's such a unique combination of things that nobody else, as far as I know, is doing. So yeah, that is something that's coming up. And yeah, I'm just really into like the more alignment and that kind of thing, posture at the moment. So definitely going to be bringing a program or a masterclass or something around that in 2023 as well.
And is there a link, again, just for my little sciencey brain, between specifically like a specific emotion and lymphatics? You know, like with some things, the thyroid issues can be linked to not speaking your truth. Is there anything with like sluggish lymph or detox stuff?
Yeah, it can be like boundaries. It can be kind of obviously your lymphatic system is like letting go of the things that you don't need anymore. It's you know, letting go of things that are not serving you anymore. So there is that same thing with the emotional side. Like hanging on to toxic relationships and not setting boundaries and things like that. But yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to learn more from you on your Instagram. And like I said, release that episode, a real deep dive into lymphatic health on the podcast soon. So stay tuned for that one. But thank you so much, Chloe, for joining me again. It's always good to chat with you and see that you're doing really well. You're thriving, you're helping other people now, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so fun.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would love for you to leave me a rating and review on your podcast app, as this helps to support the show and it allows it to reach more people with this valuable information. Come and say hi over on Instagram. I'm at Viva Natural Health. And if you haven't already, check out my website, vivanaturalhealth.co.uk, for tons more free resources and to discover how I could support you further. I currently offer one-on-one consultation packages if you want my top level support, then more affordable group programs and self-paced online courses. So there really is something for everyone. If you're ready to change and get some answers but aren't sure which option would be best, take that first step today and apply for a free enrollment call on my website, and we'll discuss the best steps for you to take in order to achieve hormonal harmony. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next week for another episode.